Hello, I'm Newbox. Today I'll be covering the Ultimate Vive trackers to see if it should be your next full body tracking solution. I recently purchased my 3-pack set about a month ago, and I think that's provided me ample time in testing it out. There's quite a few options out there for full body tracking, stuff like Slime VR, Tundra trackers, Macapi, etc., etc. The Ultimate trackers are by far the most expensive option if you don't have base stations and are looking for base station-less tracking. We're talking about like $600 for the Ultimates versus $225 for like a base Slime VR kit. Is the price worth it? Well, your preferences may differ from mine, so I'll go over the pros and cons first. All right, so for the pros, the most obvious part is that there's no need for base stations. This is a bit of a double-edged sword, though, but for the most part, it's great. You only need to map your room once, and you'll be good to go. After that, you'll just need to calibrate your trackers every session by doing a quick figure 8 motion. The default kit comes with 3 trackers, which was enough for my use case. The only thing that doesn't track, because you need some more trackers, is whenever I bend at my elbows. Full body tracking solutions like Slime VR need many more straps and trackers to emulate one Vive tracker. So, for me, I prefer the ease of use of only having to strap a few trackers on my body. Second, there's hardly any drift. The only real drift in my experience doesn't even come from the trackers. It's that insignificant. I use track straps, which aren't affiliated with Vive at all. You'll just have to get a nice tight fit to prevent them from slipping, like in my experience. Tracking is great as long as there's enough light. If your tracker does lose its tracking, you can simply face it towards the front of your room and it'll gain tracking again. This isn't required as it will usually gain tracking again on its own. If you have continued issues, like in my experience, I just, turned it off, turned it on, and it fixed it. Charging is pretty simple. I have a USB power hub, which I can plug all the trackers into at the end of the session. Again, this is where having less trackers is nice since you only need like plug 3 of them in. Now, for the cons here, the biggest con is that you're going to need a lot of light in your room, and I do mean a lot. Like, turn on every light in your room. If there's a dark spot in an area in your room, you can add a lamp or some LED lights there, like I did. If you don't have sufficient lighting, the Ultimates will lose tracking. This isn't really an issue for me because I have plenty of lights in my room, but if you're looking for more of a darker room while you're in VR, these trackers, might not be for you. Also, there needs to be enough variation on each wall, so the Ultimates have things to track onto. Things like posters, furniture, etc., etc. If your walls and ceiling are too blank, then the Ultimates will not track very well. During setup, when you scan your room, the program will tell you about the quality of the scan, so you can go back and fix some issues if you happen to encounter them. At first, scanning my room was a pain, and I couldn't really get an optimal scan for the life of me. But a couple days later, they had updated the software and doing scans in my room, which was like much more streamlined, and it fixed many of the issues I've been having. The big thing to note here is that if you're using the Ultimates with a non-Vive headset like I am, the software is in beta for those, so it's not fully complete yet. That is one thing to keep in mind. Overall, I am very pleased with these trackers. It's cheaper than getting a full lighthouse tracking setup, and it's performed very well in my experience. I did some research on Slime VR and other solutions like that, and what scared me off from investing in them was the drift issues that have been frequently reported on things like Reddit and such. And in my opinion, it's worth it to spend more for a more seamless and elegant solution like this one. So yeah, peace.